Well, hello and welcome to Faith, Philosophy and Life with me, Mr. Shelton. Behind me is an image that I'm sure you will have seen in the press fairly recently around the Black Lives Matter movement, where the police were approaching a black woman and attempting to arrest her. It's been a crazy few weeks with the kind of protest that we've seen in the UK, in the US and around the world as well, in such an important issue. And what we're going to think about today is we're going to think about human rights and the way that everyone really is equal. Everyone really has the same rights, the same opportunities, and deserves them as well, just by the nature of them being human. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take you through a lesson today on human rights. You will need to access the description below, so please make sure that you've got all the information sheets in front of you that you will need for during today's lesson. But before we get on proper, I'm to go and grab a piece of paper and a pen, because here's our cheesy intro music. Okay, welcome back. So behind me then is a word search. I'd like you now to try and work out which of these words you can see. Set yourself a timer of maybe 3 minutes and pause me and see which words you can see. Okay, great. I wonder how many you saw. Some of them are absolutely dead easy, but I'm going to be honest with you, I'm rubbish at word searches, so I can't give you the answers because I couldn't find them. But I know that they're there. Promise you that they are. So our title today is What Are Our Human Rights? What are our human rights? And our learning objective is to investigate what Christians believe about human rights and why. To investigate what Christians believe about what human rights and why. Pause me wherever you need to as we go throughout this clip. So it's going to be good if you can state 2 things that Christians believe about human rights. Great if you can give reasons for these beliefs from a Christian perspective. And even better if you can link Christian beliefs about human rights to some biblical teachings as well. So we're going to think about a Christian value of humility, thinking about ourselves in the right manner. We've got our SMSC, spiritual and moral. That means reflecting on what we believe and why we believe it, and what makes things right or wrong. And then we've got a citizenship link there that you can just about see over my shoulder, which is all to do with what makes us good citizens in the world, which is obviously what our whole unit is about life in Britain and who we are as people. So during today's session then, we've got word search, which you've done. We're going to look at human rights research, going into some biblical analysis. You're going to create a leaflet and some research, and then a reflection question as well. So I mentioned earlier there is a link underneath me in the description, which I would like you to access, and you'll get a grid that looks like that. Now if you haven't got a printer or you want to write it out by hand, that's absolutely fine to do so. So let me explain how this works. I'm going to show you a clip in a moment. It's going to give you the information that you need for that. Now there are 2 blank boxes on your grid, and the reason for that is for you to put 2 additional bits of information on whatever you think is absolutely important for you to do. So there are 2 boxes for you to write down anything you want that you think is important based on the clip you are about to see. So okay guys, let's get started on that. Get the information below me, and here's our media clip.
The Universal Declaration of Human Rights was written in 1948. Millions of people had perished in the Second World War. Many countries were still deeply divided by racism, and military oppression. So, the 48 countries of the United Nations got together and decided that enough was enough. So they all sat down and wrote 30 articles. That's 30 rights and freedoms which belong to all of us.
Article 1, we're all born free! We have our own thoughts and ideas, and we should all be treated the same way.
Article 9 says nobody has the right to put us in prison without good reason. To keep us there, or to send us away from our country.
Article 15. We all have the right to belong to our country.
Over here. Article 18 says we all have the right to believe in whatever we like.
To have a religion. And to change it if we wish.
Article 19. We all have the right to make up our own minds, to think what we like, to say what we like, and to share our ideas with other people.
And Article 30 says that nobody can take these rights and freedoms away from us. They belong to everybody.
Okay, I hope you found that helpful. I know that you're going to be plaguing me for the answers, so here we go. The first one is, what is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights? It's a list of rights that all humans have across the world, no matter what background, culture, race or religion. A list of rights all humans have across the world, no matter what background, culture, race or religion. How many articles are there? Well, there's 30. What's Article 1? All humans are born free and equal. All humans are born free and equal. 3 rights, well, that's up for you to have come up with. If you're still not sure what I'm talking about, Google them now. Which do you think is the most important human right and why? Again, your opinion, so you need to make a judgment on that. You have the right to think what you want and say what you want. You have the right to think what you want and say what you want. And what should education do? Well, it should strive to promote peace and understanding among all people. Education should strive to promote peace and understanding among all people. So that's the answer to that grid. What we've been doing then is we've been thinking about our learning objective, which is to investigate what Christians believe about human rights and why. And now we should easily be able to explain what a human right is. And now we need to focus a little bit more on the Christian understanding of that. So to do that, behind me are 2 quotes. The first quote is, "There is neither Jew or Greek, there is neither slave nor free, and there is neither male or female, for you are all one in Jesus Christ." That is simply saying that it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, what your gender is, what your ethnicity is. If you believe in Jesus, then you're all the same. The second quote there is, a new commandment, this is Jesus speaking, that I give unto you, that you have loved one another, even as I have loved you, so you should also love one another. Now, I like to think that that does not mean love as in to find someone attractive. That's not what Jesus is talking about here at all. Jesus is talking about agape, unconditional love. And he's saying that people should love one another. They should unconditionally care for one another, whether they be their friends or their enemies. So what I'd like you now to do is to pause this clip and write them down, those clips that is, and say what they're teaching about human rights. Okay, so the next thing I'd like you to do, again with the description below, you'll find a worksheet on injustice. I'd like you to access that, and I'd like you to answer the questions that are in the task box there. All the information you need is on the sheet that is there, so there's no reason that you're going to struggle with that. However, I would like you to get on with that. That should take you about 15 minutes or so maximum. It's not particularly complicated, this one, but it does go through information about injustice and human rights with that. Pause me, obviously, and then come back to me. Okay, so what we've said is that it'd be good if you could state 2 things that Christians believe about human rights, and hopefully now that you've done that worksheet, that will be really clear to you. Great if you give reasons for those beliefs from a Christian perspective. Again, hopefully now combining that with the quotes, you'll have that in the bag. And even better if you can link Christian beliefs about human rights to biblical teachings, and again, that should be there as well. So you've made really good progress in a very short time of having a lesson with me, because you've done all the hard work. So we've done our word search, we've done our human rights research, we've done our biblical analysis, and now we're going to go onto our leaflet and research. So what you need to do is you need to create either a poster or a leaflet for a pupil in year 7 who knows nothing about human rights. What I'd like you to include is a definition of human rights, some examples of them, what Christians believe, why they believe these things, and give an example of an individual or organisation who's worked for human rights. So, for example, Martin Luther King, Tear Fund, anyone that you've studied who tries to help other people. So that's what I'd like you to do now, and that can either be a poster or a leaflet, and this should take you probably about 20 minutes to do that, and then come back to me for our final task. Okay, so our last task then is to explain why Christians think human rights are important. Explain why Christians think human rights are important. So for this, after a little paragraph, I'd like you to be thinking about things like image of God, some of the quotes like treat others like to be treated, love your neighbour. Try and get at least one of those in there. So that's treat others like to be treated, love your neighbour, made in the image of God, and all that sort of jazz. So I'm going to end it there. So you'll need to carry on and get that finished. So thanks for your time today. Take care of yourselves. Wash hands. Stay safe. God bless. And I'll see you soon.